651 Tingle. When they come for 26, they go down.
It's 50.
50 and 404.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call. Everybody's here. Scott Edmondson is excused. Could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oops. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes of August 20th?
Move the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Announcements and updates. Susan, non-residential design.
The Non-Residential Design Review Committee did meet last Friday to review a proposed addition to 8 North Pennsylvania Avenue, which is Sandy Paws, used to be the real estate office, and it was approved.
Thank you. Scott's not here. Could I ask the mayor to update anything from the town council? Other than motorcycles, thank you. The answer was, there's nothing there.
There was no meeting.
No meeting. I didn't mean nothing there. I apologize. That was an obnoxious comment for me. Okay. Comments and questions from the planning commission members? Anybody have anything they want to say? John?
Mr. Chairman, all members of the commission should have gotten a copy of what I will call the rough draft of the first 3 chapters of the 2022-2032 Comprehensive Development Plan. We've met under Mark's expert leadership a number of times, and this reflects now the work that we've done up to this point. The other chapters are we're still working on. As soon as we have them, we'll get them to you.
Thank you. And I might add from the chair, excellent work being done by Mark and John and unnamed other people who worked on this.
We
Thank
have a
you, unnamed
ghostwriter
other
in the audience, I think.
person. Thank you, unnamed other person. Any other comments? Okay. Does the public, anybody in the audience, or any of our town council members have a comment they'd like to make this time? No? Okay, very good. All right, new business. Consider and possibly vote on the application for partitioning for property identified as lots 42 and 43, block 28 at 651 Tingle Avenue in the R1 zoning district. Susan.
All right, this is basically a partitioning or a relocation of previous lot lines. The Evergreen Company, LLC, are the owners of lots 42 and 43, block 28, known as 651 Tingle Avenue, and they're requesting that the parcel be partitioned into 2 lots. Based on the information provided, the properties are zoned R1 residential and consists of 10,000 square feet combined. Both lots will be 50 feet by 100 feet. Each will be 5,000 square feet in area, and both will have 50 feet of frontage on Tingle Avenue. Both lots are unimproved. Pursuant to Appendix 3, Table of Dimensional Requirements in the R1 district, the minimum street frontage for interior lots is 40 feet, and the minimum lot area for single-dwelling lots is 5,000 square feet, which they both meet. The address for Lot 43 will continue to be 651 Tingle Avenue. The new address for Lot 42 will be 653 Tingle Avenue. This property was the subject of an earlier request for partitioning that was tabled at the October 16th, 2021 meeting. That request was made by Wayne Lyons, a realtor with Long & Foster, for the estate of the previous owner of record, Rose M. Clark. And a copy of the survey was provided. Any questions?
John?
Is there a representative from the applicant here? May I ask you to go to the...
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Lisa I. You want Evergreen Homes address? Did you say address?
Your address.
Yeah, it's 36885 Herring Way, Selbyville, Delaware.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have, I don't recall ever not approved a petition that met all of the zoning requirements. We have in the past disapproved projects or applications if they fail to meet one or more of those. For those listening in and maybe in the audience, let me describe this property and where it is. If you come in on Route 26, there's a traffic light at St. Anne's Church, just eastbound as you're coming towards the beach. Tingle Avenue is the first block to the east of that, closer to the beach. It's probably 6 blocks long. After you get past First Street, it's no outlet. It is in a part of Bethany Beach that has a lot of tree cover and all. 651 Tingle, if you go to that site, is an unimproved lot with a number of mature trees on it, with houses on both sides built up. When I went to visit the property, as I typically do before acting on this, the trees are marked. Some of them have white tape on them. Some of them have, I think, like blue. I'm not sure, and I want to ask if you know what the designation is behind those markings on the trees.
Yeah, there's white ties around most of the trees, and those are to be removed. They're either leaning, that's going to be leaning in towards the proposed plan. Excuse me. And the green markers are, there's like 4 on lot 42 and 3 on lot 43. And those trees will be saved.
This commission has had experience with evergreen development in the past. And the last application that came through here was a piece of property that was owned by your company that they clear cut. That was approved. But I want to probe a bit because of our experience with what happened then. If this is approved, I want, and I might ask you, Susan, to help here. Once approved, when and how are those trees that are identified that need to come down because they're in the footprint of the proposed 2 building lots, when that's going to happen, and how do we ensure that we don't have a similar situation that happened in a prior application?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What, they
Well,
will give me notice,
I'm
24
sorry?
hours. I have talked to the, I guess he's the supervisor?
Or Ron?
No, Ron,
Yeah, Ron Wilkins.
yeah. And he's usually is in charge of these in the field. And he will be, he has marked the trees. We'll go take a look at it. And I haven't gotten footprints for the houses yet, so I can't really tell
Do,
any are, it should be saved. But there, I mean, I have no authority to tell them they can't take a tree down.
understand, if we approve this today, can they start taking trees down tomorrow?
No, because they didn't give me notice, and tomorrow's,
Okay,
so they'll give me 24 hours notice for when they want to do that.
and,
They're also involved in, right now, trying to, working with DENREC with where the bulkhead will be. And there's some discrepancy with that. It's the only one on that side of the street where they're requiring them to pull it in 5 feet from all the other bulkheads. So they're trying to work it so that there's a continuous line, but that's not been solved yet either. So that'll all of that and getting back to do the bulkhead and all of that will occur, I guess, as soon as we get this approved and recorded.
Susan, are you in a position from a workload standpoint that when they give you notice about tree removal, that you or one of your staff can in fact go out there and make sure as to what they're doing? My concern simply is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a heavily treed, undeveloped lot. There's houses on both sides, and I want to be sure that there aren't any trees that are outside of the footprint of whatever they're building being taken down, and on the property lines on either side, to the houses that are there, that we try to maintain as much possible tree cover as possible.
Is there, I'm sorry, what are you asking of me? I'm
I-
not sure.
I
Can
wa-
I verify that? It's difficult to do out in the field, to verify that one tree, is not in the footprint and being taken down or not. They have marked trees to save. So that's all I have to go on.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm just concerned because of past conduct of the applicant that this is done in a proper way and also in a way that retains as much tree cover as possible as we work on trying to keep Bethany Beach as tree covered as possible. I mean, we're going to take a piece of property right now that serves, when it rains and all, serves as an area that, a bioretention area that is going to be reduced by the size of the two houses that go and the roofs and so forth. And there's already flooding events that have occurred there, and I want to just make sure that if we approve this, that we're aware not only of it meeting the zoning requirements, but that the developer is also aware of our concern about unnecessary removal of trees.
Is there a house plan yet?
Yes, I have a house plan, and I also have a drawing that shows the trees that we're proposing to be removed and that we're saving. If you'd like to look at it, I could give
Yes,
it to
please.
Susan.
Mr. Chairman, I would just further opine that typically our application
Okay. Yeah, we got that.
Mr. Chairman, typically when we get an application such as this, it's simply a surveyor's chart of, plan of the lot, where the boundaries and so forth are. And where the houses are gonna be. But they're two-dimensional. They don't show the coverage of the trees and so forth. And so I just want everyone to understand that the surveyor's lines here are not a full rendition of what that property looks like. If you were to have an accurate portrayal of it, you would see, just as the young lady just provided us, where the trees and so forth are. Those are not, right now, those are not just open lots. They do have extensive tree coverage on it. Susan, just as a matter of procedure, we were just handed a hand-drawn depiction of the trees and what's going to come down. Is this, a presentation like that, is that appropriate to possibly be included in future applications so that when you review this, you're not just looking at a two-dimensional flat piece of property and some indication of what's there or not?
Typically, the partitionings that come before you are not heavily wooded lots, and it's not in the requirements for submittal.
Right. Okay.
We don't have a whole heck of a lot of these parcels left, do we?
I know that they recently counted the number of vacant lots still existing, and in those, there possibly are some partitionings. Do we have a lot of them? No.
No, and most of the ones that John is dealing with are on the west side of US 1, because they're not a ton
Yeah.
of trees in town. Yeah.
Typically, the ones, the more heavily treed lots are west of Route 1. And typically, they're in mostly, well, let's see, mostly in Turtle Walk, Tingles Addition in there, because, and they're not in Bethany West per se, or much of Turtle Walk, because those were developments. They were already removed, had all the trees removed.
I think we have to delineate between construction and development, and this is really the development phase of whatever they're going to do. So it's got to be I guess, a little bit more general in scope as to what we require for approval, I guess. Do you agree with that, or?
I'm not sure I'm following.
Well, are we do you think we should be at the point, being an architect, and also Mark, I'll throw it to you, that we should be, I mean, I agree with John's comments since prior things that happened, but should we be requiring the applicant at that point to have tree surveys and things like that?
The only place in the code where that is a requirement is for minor and major subdivisions.
Right. Okay. John?
Mr. Chairman, the hand-drawn presentation that we just got pretty much answers the question that I was trying to get at. If there was going to be any kind of, my term, buffer between the houses on both sides and now the new two houses that are going there, and whether any of those trees would remain. And from what I look at there, no, they will not. And I just, again, want everyone to understand what's happening here. I'm not opposed to the proposal because it meets the requirements of zoning, but it is going to significantly change that area for the two houses on either side and all.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Do I have a motion? Please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed parceling as presented, and along with the trees that are identified to be saved per, if we could use this attachment or what is identified. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Any discussion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's Susan. Do you want to hold on to these?
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming today, thanks. Hopefully you didn't take a motorcycle.
And I hope you take the discussion that we had to heart as you design. Oh, you're walking out, so you don't want to hear the rest of it, okay?
Okay, old business. Brief update from the Comprehensive Plan Subcommittee. Mark, since you did the typing, and this will be brief because, from my standpoint, it's very nicely done, and we don't need to discuss in detail what's here. Everybody has this, and they can read
Yep.
at their leisure.
Sure. Thanks. So this was definitely a group effort, and some members of our audience also did some heavy lifting, Mrs. Mayor. But so the information you have here is the sort of final working draft of chapters 1 through 3 that has, close to final editing from the IPA team who's helping us. They will go through the entire document at the end for formatting and all of that sort of nuance with margins and indentations and such. But we wanted to share this progress if anything is sort of glaring or seems off from the work that had been done over the past year or plus, year plus. Please bring it to my attention. We'll collect it and then share it back as ideally end of next week back to the working team. And the following chapters, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have the same sort of level of detail on the next chapters back for review.
You have a estimated date when when the review will be complete? Generally.
Yeah, I don't. I want to say that November was standing out for getting it all together, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
So I apologize. I'll clarify that.
Okay, I want to make sure that
Yeah.
we know that as well as the town council, because they're going to have to make the final decision.
Right. I think initially they're working backwards from the February submission date, and then public review, town council review, our review, and that sort of puts us in the November-ish time frame without asking for an extension. So,
John? Thank you, Mark.
sure.
Mr. Chairman, according to our call them editors at University of Delaware, they're aware of what the deadline is, and we seem to be tracking along that we will, there'll be time to do all those. We will be having an upcoming meeting with DelDOT to talk about coordination and so forth. And I believe in our last meeting, UD had one of their staff that is very conversant in environmental areas and all, and we had a discussion about Green Bethany and so forth. I have just one other comment. We have also, I think, been careful that with the editors that they understand that we're not interested in reinventing the wheel or over-engineering this. Occasionally something that will come up that they want to be more expansive about than is in our control. One example I can give you is they wanted to include sewers as part of our stormwater management and all, and of course, sewers are covered by Sussex County. And so there's reference in the language, but the heading no longer has sewers as part of it.
Well, that's good, because the sewers Sussex County have are sewers. They're not stormwater.
Right,
Not
yeah.
combined.
Right.
Not a combined system, which would be a problem for the treatment plants if we started putting water, runoff and infiltration water into, a lot of infiltration into that. Okay, great. Very good. All right. Finally, we have proposed code amendments for Chapter 410 and 507. Has everybody a chance to read those this morning?
I'll take these and just walk you through it, if that's okay. So the previous Tingle Avenue partitioning that we looked at back in May triggered some comments and concerns around definitions within Chapter 410, as well as the continued discussion around tree preservation and specifically to that clear-cutting issue and requiring mature trees to be planted as part of project development. So these are kind of the recap comments for 3 items. As a follow-up to that, there's a couple others that are still in the works, but I think to try to start finalizing these, I broke them out separately. So the first page here is Chapter 410, subdivision of land. The item we discussed back in, I want to say June or July, was to add definitions for improved and unimproved. So here in blue on the page, the proposed definitions for review and consideration. Susan has reviewed these, but basically saying unimproved land is land upon which a residential, commercial, or other structure exists, or I'm sorry, improved land, and unimproved land is land which no structure exists. These are, again, just kind of tightening up the existing terms and definitions within that section, so it's clearly stated what the town's position is on these terms, since it does vary by jurisdiction.
Let's could we take them one at a time?
Yeah, sure.
Since it might be quicker that.
Yeah.
Are there any comments to what is in front of you? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. 410-6 definitions for improved land and unimproved land has been approved. All right, Mark?
Yep.
Next one.
Page 2, this is Chapter 507, trees. Article 3, removal of trees on unimproved lots within subdivisions and/or planned residential developments. Again, definitions section here. I'm just proposing that we clarify the existing caliper dimension that states an outside diameter measurement of tree trunk of a tree measured at a vertical distance of 6 inches above grade. Further in this section, under definitions, we clarify what the definition of a tree is, and that is a measurement of a mature tree at 4.5 feet above grade. What I've found in sort of industry standards is that nurseries measure young trees that are in pots at 6 inches above the soil and 4.5 feet for mature existing trees. Again, this is just tightening up the definition, so we're avoiding, different positions on what we sort of intend by the code definitions. The existing tree definition, as stated in that section, would just remain, and that, as I mentioned, is any woody plant which has a trunk 8 inches or more in diameter at 4.5 feet above natural grade level. So, for example, in the case that we just looked at, the supplement that Evergreen shared, there was no trees indicated that were being removed as 8 inches. They're all 1.5 inch to 3 inch diameter trees. So this is a lot of, per our definitions, these aren't mature trees. I'm sure within the footprints that wasn't on there, I walked that site as well, there are larger trees that, they likely couldn't design around, but a lot of that overgrowth that makes it look more woody are actual more just scrub trees. So anyway, again, this is just tightening up the definitions here so we don't have additional confusion as it relates to other sections where we reference what's required on a site or what we consider mature or new trees.
Any comments, John?
Mr. Chairman, this article applies to trees on unimproved lots within subdivisions and/or planned residential development. Should we consider
That's a good point.
expanding that to cover the application we just approved? That doesn't fall under a subdivision or planned residential development. And if I heard Susan correctly, she has no control over a piece of property like that. And even if we do this, she still wouldn't. And I raised the question based on the discussion we just had. I apologize for not raising it when we were working on this, but I don't know whether we should think about including just lots or not. Am I making sense here?
Yes, you want to include parcels that are undergoing partitioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it would be removal of trees on unimproved lots within,
Undergoing partitioning
within-
or within subdivisions?
well, yeah, you could just take it all out and just say unimproved lots. We now have a definition for unimproved.
Right.
Oh, okay, that would do it.
improved lots.
And just put a period or
Yeah.
delete within subdivisions and planned residential developments so that it would apply across the
Everything.
board.
Correct, but then you're limiting, you would still not, it still wouldn't affect those lots that are improved, that are coming back in to then subdivide because they built a house on 2 lots. So,
Right.
but there's not a whole lot of lots that this will apply to anyway.
I
I
mean,
can think of maybe a handful that are out there that exist, but really, there aren't a lot.
so if we were to not go further on improved lots that wanted to be partitioned, could you live with that?
I think I understand, and I think so.
Right, well, the point is, if we just say on unimproved lots, there are lots that are improved that might come before us that are seeking a partition, which you would not have control over, but is that something we can live with, you can live with,
Yeah, because they probably don't have a whole lot of trees
right?
on them anyway, and typically, because their house is in the middle, so, yeah, I would be fine with that in that we won't have that many cases where it's a problem.
Do we have to mention the footprint of the house or the structure? Is that, how's that covered? Because this, if you just read the definition, it's specific to the tree. Now, when they build a structure, they're gonna be taking down, possibly taking down trees that
Where the
will-
structure would be.
where the structure is, that'll meet this definition. Do we need to address the structure?
I'm confused, I'm not understanding what the question is.
Okay, the question
Have an
is,
unimproved lot,
unimproved lot, right,
there's no structure.
right. But when you, because this is, never mind. It was a stupid question.
I think we might,
Unimproved lot.
we might solve it with the page 3, because that's talking specifically to the
Yeah.
preservation aspect, and then that would apply to everything,
Yeah.
I think. But
No.
this was more just the nuance of that definition in that section.
Take my question back. I answered it myself.
So we could come back to this one if you want to talk about the
No.
tree one first. But again, it's just a,
I think that
Definition.
takes care of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
sure.
Mr. Chairman, then I would propose that we approve Chapter 507 trees, Article 3, removal of trees on unimproved lots, and then the following definitions as contained on the paper.
Everybody understand what John just said? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Passes.
Okay, so this one, I added, this was my first meeting in October 2021. I believe you all were talking about this before that, but wanted to kind of state that we're creeping up on a year of talking about a relatively, in my opinion, relatively simple addition here for tree preservation. So this is essentially would be a proposed new section, I think, as minimum tree density requirements. And I think this can be applicable to private lots, subdivisions, all improved lots, however we want to mention that. But essentially here, it says all residential lots, whether or not they contain a structure, must maintain a minimum tree density, which can be achieved by existing trees or by planting new trees, with the criteria below that. So essentially each single-family residence in a residential district shall have at least 2 trees on a 5,000 square foot lot. So 1 tree per 2,500 square feet. If the lot is larger and that becomes a fraction over decimal point of 0.5, then we round up. And at the bottom of this page, just for reference, I took our different district sizes here, put this into a chart with the right column showing the minimum tree requirements that would be required in these districts. And then just one other thing to note without reading all of these sections is that that tree shall have a caliber dimension of 3 inches or more and be at least 10 feet in height. So this is the same requirement that currently exists in section 507.12. I believe that's in the that's in the tree inventory and replacement plan of the subdivision criteria. So the language is the same. The example here is that the properties that were just presented to us would have to have each a minimum of 2 trees, 3 inches in diameter and 10 feet in height as part of their final CO. I think to me, this is being, we we could probably require more, but it's a starting point that we could maybe monitor and see. But we definitely have a lot of properties on the east side of town with no mature trees at this point. It's just structures on top of structures. We were just going through one of the chapters of the comprehensive plan this week, and the team referenced the fact that our tree canopy percentage for the town is around 40% as a total. I went online and played with the digital tool that the state provides, and I mapped out the downtown Rehoboth town, which is smaller in acreage, and they are at 52% tree canopy. And you know it when you drive through there. There's a definite, and I'm not saying that we need to strive to be that completely, but trees do have besides the beauty, they do help with the stormwater and other things that we've been talking about. So just wanted to throw that out there from some other research that I didn't type up, but it might turn up in the comprehensive plan that we put a goal in there for increasing our tree canopy, for example, by X year to this percent as a goal, and then that would allow some of these additions to contribute to how you get there. So some back context there. But so again, a 5,000 square foot lot, interior, 2 minimum trees, a corner lot would, if it were 6,000 square feet, would round up to 3. The multi-dwelling ones are a little tricky, but I don't know that we have a lot of those happening right now. So I use the minimum lot area that we include for those dwellings, but I think sometimes that lot area changes. So you would still use the, you'd still divide it by the lot area to get to your trees. And we don't have to necessarily include the table. I put that there just for our group to see what this amounts to.
Thanks, Mark. Good
Sure.
work.
Good work, yeah, very
John?
good work.
Mr. Chairman, I have a concern about this from the standpoint of when and how wide does it apply? If I read this correctly, I'm going to use my own house as an example. I'm in the R2 district in Bethany West, and under this requirement, I would be required to have 3 trees on my lot. I've owned that property since 1981. I have planted 1 tree in the back, a bald cypress. It does not have 3 trees on it now, and I'm concerned that if we go forward as it's written, somebody is going to come to my yard and say, hey, you got to put 2 more trees on your lot. And I'm not sure whether that is what we're intending or not, but I do have a concern about identifying the effective date and the coverage. Is it new projects, or and I would be grandfathered or not? And right now, it's not clear to me where I would fall.
I agree with you that a question I had about how do we want to enforce that. I think new is easy, or transactional perhaps when something turns over, but the pavement work that we did last week was I think 50%, right? So basically significant improvement to the lot triggered that. I'm not sure if there's other references in the code that we'd want to tie this to, or how they become a requirement, or if it's only for new new structures or new development.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have a legitimate question here about effectiveness and applicability, and maybe we not we table any action on approval of this until we've had further discussions about when and how it would be applied.
Well, is there a problem to approve this now just for new? And then we can discuss how we want to adjust it later? So that anything that comes about right now, that you would have to abide by the 3 trees or the 2 trees?
I don't have a problem with it being new, but we need some further work on this to identify what a new project is and all. And maybe we can do that in this session, but I don't think, even for new, Diane, I'm not sure that we've covered it enough here to do that.
Okay, I'd rather not approve something and bring it back and reapprove it again. This, right now, it's not causing any problems for you, is it, Susan?
Would this mean?
This particular proposed tree regulation?
I think that it would be it would be easiest to look at number of trees and planting them and everything with new construction.
Right.
I think when you do, I mean, I have a project in my office where it's an 8x10 little addition on a house. Am I then going to have to go out and look for trees or
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
make that a requirement at the same time? I don't think that that's necessary. I think brand new, where they're taking it, either they're taking a house down and putting in a new house, or there's an empty lot and they're just doing a brand new house or duplex, then you can say, with their site plan, because I get a placement plan, that I want to see where there's an existing tree or you're proposing a tree, and we can look at it that way. The only other thing I had on this is that in the table, I would take out R1A, because R1A are those, they're actually townhouses,
Right.
and they build lot line to lot line, and the rest is parking. There is no area for trees.
Yeah,
It just doesn't exist.
I can see how this could be a problem for existing structures. I know I had to take a tree down because my insurance company said, take a tree down, or we're not going to insure you. And fortunately, I still have 2 trees left, or 3
Well,
trees left.
Yeah, the only other problem with this is they don't, they're building year-round, and there's times when they don't do the landscaping right as I'm finaling a house. How do I track it?
Right.
Right.
They say, well, come spring, we're going to, landscape this area back here or something. How am I supposed to track it if it's not done right when I have to give the CO? So it's just something to consider, like, how are we tracking this?
Well, maybe we just defer this for one meeting, because I mean, you guys worked so hard the last few months with my 3-hour meetings, and it's been terrible here. I do apologize for that. And I'm trying to get you a break today and be finished within an hour if we can. I don't think this is a large problem change, whatever, but if everybody could just think about it for a month, I'm sure that if we come back next month, we can probably have it modified without a lot of discussion at that time. So do I have a motion on this particular change?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we defer action on the proposed tree regulation for Chapter 507, trees, Article 2, trees on private property, until the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Mark, thank you. Excellent.
And Mr. Chairman, we'll work with Mark on
Language.
the language, and I apologize for not having thought of this before the meeting, but we'll get there.
That's what this meeting's for, very good. Okay, summary of actions, we have approved the partitioning, lots 42 and 43, block 28, at 651 Tingle. And we have reviewed we have received the subcommittee's work on the 10-year plan, and we've approved two amendments to the code. Good work, thank you. Now, are there any other comments that the commissioners would like to make? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Very good.
Easy.
And we beat the 10 o'clock. Hallelujah.